And that's another reason why Pokemon... Whoa, guys, I get it. You're excited. I get it. You guys have been great co-hosts for... it's been a few years now. Prince Froggy, he had his time in the sunlight last year with the Yoshi's Island 30th anniversary. He actually ended up being the only boss that I lost to. Definitely a really good challenge with the stomach acid Shy Guy combo. And yeah, if you haven't played Yoshi's Island, do yourself a favor and play the greatest video game of all time. So last week we went over Rampardos and the awesome attributes of this Pokemon, one of my favorites. And standing at 93 attack, 80 HP, 80 special defense, we have this awesome other co-host named Seaking, and he is the definition of he just likes hanging around, but when push comes to shove, he's gonna hold it down for the fort. He is an anchor, and I love not only his design, but I love that Seaking is the type of Pokemon where, obviously in the anime and Super Smash Brothers, the pre-evolved form, Goldeen, definitely got a lot of attention. In a similar way of Pikachu to Raichu. Ironically, both those Pokemon have the Lightning Rod ability. In that correlation, Lightning Rod is such a fascinating ability by itself. Anytime an electric type move hits a Pokemon with Lightning Rod, the electric move is negated, and then the Pokemon gains 1.5 times special attack. And from Sceptile to Raichu to Manectric, a lot of these Lightning Rod Pokemon already resist electric, so it's almost like an insult to injury ability. It's a great ability. Now you put this on a Water-type Pokemon, whose one of only two weaknesses is electric, and it becomes this kind of 180 mental game swap of your opponent can have a Zapdos out, is about to click Volt Switch, and here comes Seaking. If they already don't know much about what Seaking does due to it not being super meta at the moment, that one Volt Switch now turns into a 1.5 times amplifier. And the amplifier can be used with a really good water move called Scald. Scald does really good damage and has a 30% chance to cause burn. So now what becomes the opponent trying to do a Volt Switch pivot has you stop it, Seaking anchors down, and then now you can fire off Scalds, and whoever they try to manually switch in will be burned. They can keep Zapdos around, but a reminder that Seaking can learn, Ice Beam. Seaking can learn Blizzard. There's a lot of fun nuances to this, and if you predict that your opponent is going to pivot out with a hard switch, Seaking recently got the move Flip Turn, which allows Seaking to pivot out while using his pretty high physical attack stat, all while being a water type. So both of these strong utility moves in Scald and Flip Turn also get, damage boosts because of Seaking's type. There's a lot going on already. And the fun part about Seaking, the fun part about competitive Pokemon, is like I've talked about in the past with competitive toys, Beyblade, card games like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon Magic, just creative toys in general, like, Bionicle, Lego in general, is that they add new layers for entertainment, because it's not just entertainment, it's education. You're like, what? Yu-Gi-Oh! Entertaining, Magic, Pokemon? Yeah, it actually is. The world of psychology and neural pathway development for kids is astonishing when you look at when they play with toys like that. Because look at Pokemon, look at competitive Pokemon. We're talking about Seaking today. Seaking is, again, a water-type Pokemon and has 3 different abilities. So when you're wanting to build a team, you already have all these Legos thrown out in front of you. You have all of Seaking's different moves, and what do you want to do with that? And then we, factor in things like EVs and natures and all these different combinations to play Seaking in isolation. We're just talking about isolation. Now, if we're going to teamwork, right? So I'm running Volcanion, right? A Pokemon that has Water Absorb, a really good ability, just a nice special attacking bruiser. And, Volcanion is a Water Fire type. So when I'm using Volcanion, I'm understanding that, they could send out, again, Zapdos or Jolteon and use Volt Switch and they could do a lot of damage against Volcanion. So I switch into Seaking. Seaking is completely immune to electric moves, and now I get the pivot momentum by using Flip Turn, or I can use Scald on their switch in. Just those two moves alone. But a reminder that Seaking learns Knockoff, Seaking learns Mega Horn, Seaking learns Drill Run. There's a lot of cool aspects to this Pokemon. And I love that because Seaking is a goldfish with a horn, it has horn-related moves. Learning Mega Horn on a water type is already pretty rare, but the fact that Seaking is already known to have pretty high physical attack and can use this really high damaging bug move that's super effective against grass types is awesome. You know, one fun set I love about Seaking is you can just run like a physical attack bruiser set with Aqua Tail, Mega Horn. You can run Knockoff, you can run Flip Turn, you know, Drill Run. There's all these different strong physical moves, and then you can give it Wide Lens, which increases accuracy by 1.1 times. So moves like Aqua Tail are getting really close to being, you know, 100% accurate. And then Mega Horn goes, you know, up into the 90% for landing hits. It's a lot of fun. And, you know, I mentioned earlier about different abilities. Now we can switch to Swift Swim. And I could run a Pokemon like Kabutops and do, you know, a manual Rain Dance with Flip Turn. Silvally learns Rain Dance. There's been many Draft League games I've done in the Woods Pokemon Draft League where I'll run something like Silvally, and you can run like a Damp Rock Rain Dance and then Parting Shot into a Pokemon like Seaking, into a Pokemon like Kabutops. With Swift Swim, your speed doubles and your water moves do more damage. So the thing is, you know, when you look at a Pokemon like Seaking, there's a trait called Ability Ambiguity. It's a really strong thing to have in a Pokemon when a lot of abilities are so potent in the current competitive landscape that the opponent has to guess. They have to. The guessing game alone is almost like having a fifth move, right? So right now in competitive OU, Clefable, you know, often is, you know, between its abilities, opponents have to constantly guess, right? To the point that, you know, Cute Charm has been used as a mix-up at times, and then Magic Guard, you know, huge, unaware. The thing is, in a nutshell, you know, Magic Guard prevents damage from ulterior, you know, effects like Stealth Rock and spikes, you know, stuff like that, toxic. But then Unaware says that, oh, if you boost your stats, Clefable is unaware of that. It's not going to be effective. And so again, I mentioned Cute Charm as well. It's just all these different mix-ups that the opponent can do. Well, Seaking has this with Lightning Rod, Swift Swim, and Water Veil. And the fun part about that is, again, Lightning Rod is really strong, and it's really strong on a water type. You get rid of one of its two weaknesses again, and then you boost up moves like Scald and Ice Beam, you know, Blizzard. And so now imagine that your opponent is preparing for that in a draft league, you know, where once a week you meet up with someone, and then you bring Swift Swim Seaking with the Wide Lens set, right? You bring Swift Swim Seaking with Waterium Z. Now, you know, some draft leagues don't allow Z crystals, but then in National Dex Ladder that is allowed. So, you know, one fun set is with Waterium Z, it boosts your speed with Rain Dance, and then Rain Dance is already going to boost your speed again. So you're basically looking at a +3 speed increase, all while the Rain further increases the power of a move like Waterfall. So now you're going to be a strong, fast, physical bruiser, and your opponent might have been doing a completely 180 because they were expecting Lightning Rod. And so now for even just a few turns, you can pack in with a bunch of different moves like, again, Waterfall, you can use Mega Horn, you can use Knockoff. And Knockoff alone is an insane move. You know, it's used a lot. And it got buffed, right? You know, a few generations ago. The damage went way up in Gen 6. But because it got used more later, people retroactively went back and started using Knockoff before it got buffed in damage. Clefable is a similar case. Clefable got used a lot Gen 6 on, but then people recognized, well, Clefable's pretty just good in general. You don't, you know, even with like new moves and a type switch from normal to fairy, they went back and they realized, oh yeah, I mean, obviously there are other people that knew Clefable is good, but Clefable went up in usage. And this all circles back to, again, that discovery of creativity. Through creativity, through trailblazing, people will pick up on what you're innovating. You know, you shouldn't innovate for, you know, admiration and attention, but by that natural drive to keep at it and to keep building fun sets with Seaking, Assault Vest with Lightning Rod and Hidden Power Electric in National decks. You're trying to do all these different coverage moves with something like, Scald, Ice Beam, Hidden Power Electric. Oh, I have a fourth move left? Okay, let's do Flip Turn. So if my opponent does send out a grass type, I predict it, I Flip Turn into something that might be pretty strong against a grass type like Moltres. That being said, Moltres is pretty popular right now on National Dex Ladder. It has an ability, Flame Body, that says if you hit into it, you could get burned. Flip Turn is a physical contact move. The beauty is that Seaking has Water Veil as an ability, which hinders being burned. So now, the Pokemon that was going to probably be used as a pivot to punish Flip Turn won't affect Flip Turn at all, unless they're having a Rocky Helmet on them. That being said, Water Veil is its own fun thing to do because Seaking is already known to be a physical bruiser. With all these different things you can do with it, you could just run a blunt Choice Band set and run Water Veil to kind of brute force past Talonflame, Volcarona, Moltres if they try to do a Flame Body tactic there. So it's another fun mix-up. That all being said, in the world of retroactive banning and retroactive meta developments, just about over a year ago, the move Acupressure got banned. Way more than a year ago, quite a bit back. But the move Acupressure got banned. At first, it was only talked about in like a generation, but then it basically became a widespread every generation ban. So for years, this move Acupressure would randomly boost a Pokemon's stats by +2. And I remember in Gen 8 NU, Drapion, there was a Drapion set that was just a blunt knockoff, Acupressure, Rest, and Sleep Talk. Usually with like Black Sludge to help Drapion recover HP. Well, Seaking is one of the rare Pokemon that also learns Acupressure, and you pair that with Lightning Rod, so now you can do, Acupressure, you can run Whirlpool as your special water move to lock in the opponent, and then you can run a physical move like Knockoff to get rid of, leftovers on the opposing Pokemon. All that being said, you still have a fourth move slot. You could run Rest if you want, you could run Bounce with Toxic. There's a lot of different fun things you can do with a kind of trapping like Seaking set. Acupressure is great, and an Acupressure with a Pokemon that only has one weakness to grass, and especially if you can run a move like Mega Horn, where things like your attack and your accuracy can go up, it's pretty tremendous. Now, that all being said, we can talk about all these different things you can do, but in execution, that's another test, is as a player, how can you execute this, right? So my Seaking is going to be running Whirlpool and Acupressure, right? I'm looking to find moments where I can trap an opposing Pokemon and then boost with Acupressure. Again, this move's banned, but you could run it in Anything Goes, or take a time machine and in the past you're running an Acupressure set. Regardless, it's a lot of fun to think that with a rare move like Acupressure alone, how does that combine with the other traits of Seaking? Again, these great water utility moves, these stats that you can boost on both the physical and special side, and again, Lightning Rod negating things like Volt Switch. There are Pokemon that are dedicated to pivoting out with Volt Switch, so that could be your trap right there. You're turning off their one method to leave, especially if you hit them with Whirlpool. They could just be stuck unless they're like, Thundurus running U-turn. Again, the context of understanding your surroundings and then building upon what's on your surroundings is great. You can be a trailblazer, but also look around on the trail and adjust what current threats might be around you. Seaking keeps swimming, and it's awesome to see it keep moving on in a landscape where there's so many diverse Pokemon. And I appreciate him being by my side with all these different live streams and so many great more Mondays to talk about. What a great day, and I hope you all have a wonderful, awesome week.